Well, hello again, Paul Dingaman on the Round Table. Glad you are along. This show where we get a chance to sit down and talk for a little more in-depth time with some important people from the county and from the surrounding area. Today we've got a special guest, the CEO of the Economic Development Alliance, Mr. Dan Casey. Welcome back to the Round Table, sir.
Thanks, Paul. Glad to be here.
Nice to see you. The spring is progressing. We're going to start to get some nice flowers in the ground, and you are always planting things to make St. Clair County a more successful area. Tell me what's happening at EDA.
Well, there's an awful lot happening right now.
Good.
It's certainly a great time for the county. We're seeing a lot of investment happen, a lot of opportunities out there for other types of projects to happen, more jobs coming to the area and all those things. So it's a great time for the county. And so EDA is working very hard to make all of that happen. We just got back from Ontario where we were meeting with some companies, with some of our regional partners. And these are all companies that are looking to potentially locate in North America.
Oh, okay, good.
Yep. And so we went there with the state of Michigan and with a couple of consultants to help them understand how they go about setting up a business in the United States, what Michigan's tax system looks like, what the U.S.'s tax system looks like, and how they deal with immigration to get visas and so forth. So that's just another example of one of the things that we do to try to represent the area.
Did you go to Toronto or Montreal, or did you?
Well, we were in Cambridge, Mississauga, and Toronto.
Okay.
Yep.
And there's so much. Toronto is such a live, wonderful city, and there's so much manufacturing and so much business development there that they need some kind of contact in the United States, don't they, to bring their products over and to warehouse and things along those lines?
Well, you know, I think what it is the bigger you are, sometimes the harder it is to know who to talk to.
Okay.
And so for a lot of Canadian companies, you know, they really don't have a way to connect with either people in Michigan or the U.S. or even in Canada to get their questions answered. So that's one of the reasons that we did it. And last year we did a prospecting trip over there where we met with 23 different companies. This year we're going back in June and we're going to meet with another 15 companies that are all looking potentially to establish a facility here. So part of our job is just to educate them and to connect them to the different resources that we have in the area.
You said you were with another group. Were you with that I69 Corridor Group? Was that that was a thing that was around a year or so ago that you were involved in?
Oh,
yeah, still going strong?
Sure. What it is Michigan broke all of its counties up into 10 different regions. And so we're in what's called Region 6 in Michigan, which is a 7-county area. And so it includes the 4 counties west of St. Clair, including St. Clair County, along the I69 freeway. Okay. So that would be Lapeer, Shiawassee, Genesee County. And then it includes the thumb counties. So that's the region we're in, and we've been collaborating on all kinds of different things, projects over the last few years. We've received a lot of grant money from the state to help us implement different programs, and so these trips over to Canada, for example, they're all being paid for by grants from the state.
Wonderful,
yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. EDA does have a lot of classes they offer too over the year, how to open a business, that kind of stuff. And that really goes with a new thing that you've got, which is called an incubator. Do they all fit together, the same kind of thing?
Well, you know, basically what it is for more than 10 years, the EDA has been trying to start an incubator in the county, and we've had a couple of stops and starts along the way. But finally, we're at the finish line on opening a new incubator, and it is called The Underground. And it's going to be located in downtown Port Huron in the Sperry's building.
Okay.
It's down in the basement.
Finally, the building is getting a lot of use.
That's right, i.e. the underground, down in the basement. So, so we're launching that program, and we're also launching at the same time a virtual incubator program. And what I mean by that, virtual means you don't have to locate in the incubator to take advantage of it. It's basically, it's a service. It's a program that we're offering for a small fee to entrepreneurs to help them get their businesses started, to connect them to capital, and also to expertise that they need, you know, things like lawyers, and accountants and other venture capital type firms. So it's a new program that we're launching in conjunction with the incubator.
So if you've got an idea, if you've been doing something in your house that you think might be a good project to run into a business, start a business, this is a good way to get going?
Yeah, well, that's part of it. You know, usually it starts with a good idea. You know, I've got a unique idea, a good idea, something that you know, that you have a passion for, and something that maybe you have enough initial resources in your bank account to get started on it. And you know, at some point you decide you want to launch it as a real business. Our job is to help get you started and to connect you to resources until you've had a chance to establish your business. And once you establish your business, then we try to help you get your first customer.
We had an interview the other day with here at the studio with Karen Polka, who is one of your first tenants in the incubator down in the basement of Sperry's with a company by the name of A Beautiful Me. She does great work, and she needed a spot to call home.
Yeah, absolutely. So she's one of the companies that's renting an enclosed office in the space. We still have a couple of offices available. We also do co-working down there, and so what co-working basically means, it's not necessarily a startup company, but it can be a small business, or it can just be someone who works in Metro Detroit but wants to have an office close to home that they can work out of maybe once a week or twice a week or whatever. So co-working can be a small business but not necessarily a startup. They can pay either a monthly fee or a daily fee to come in and use the facility. And so some of the resources that we have in the facility for people are enclosed offices, open offices, a kitchen, a printer, Wi-Fi system, 2 conference rooms, 2 quiet rooms where they can go and make personal phone calls. We have a training center that we're developing. We have workstations that we're going to be putting in place for doing graphic design. We're going to have another one for doing Autodesk, which is a CAD program for engineers. And we're also working with SolidWorks to put in a workstation for that as well. And then lastly, market research tools. So these are all online tools. So if a company wants to use, say, the Hoover's Dun and Bradstreet database to do market research, to identify customers or potential suppliers in a certain market, they can come in and access those tools. You pay a daily rate, you can pay a monthly rate, whatever, however you want to use the facility. We'll even let some people come in and use it for free, depending on what they're doing. And then on top of all of that, we have the virtual incubator program. So these are companies that are located anywhere in the county. They have access to the underground if they need any of those resources. But if they don't, what we do is from day one, once they're approved, is we establish an advisory board around each of those companies. And the advisory board is handpicked based on who they are and what they need, right? So we'll try to put a lawyer on the board, an attorney. It could be a patent attorney. We'll put an accounting firm there, usually a banker, and then we find someone who's in the same general industry who's successful. And we put a person like that on the board as well. And then it's a 3-year program broken down in 1-year increments. And so in the first year, what you do is right out of the gate, you establish a work plan. What it is that you need to accomplish in the first year to make your business successful. It could be as simple as, I'm just starting up, I don't have a business plan, I don't have a marketing plan, and I don't have any customers. So the first year could be as simple as, we're going to accomplish all those things. Right. And the second year, it might be, we're going to grow the business to X revenue, X amount of revenue. And the third year, it could be, we want to move out of the incubator, we want to move into permanent market rate space somewhere in the county, right? So for us, the whole reason that the main reason we're involved in this is we're trying to create the next generation of businesses for the county. So, you know, the Jim Atchisons of the world, you know, the next Precision Computers, the next Robin Group, you know, whatever the type of business it is, that's what we're aiming to do.
That's wonderful. And the fact that they can go in and at a very low rate have all those things available is really helpful. Very,
you know, and what's funny is we created this new fund for companies that come into the virtual incubator program. We have a $5,000 grant that we can, that we have a review board that reviews each company, and they decide if any of those companies are worthy of getting a grant. So if you can come in and apply and get a grant for $5,000, you can put that towards accomplishing your work plan. So let's say you don't have a business plan.
Okay.
You're just starting your business, you don't have a business plan. You apply to be in the program, you get accepted, and a review committee says, you know what, we think this is a company that's going to create a lot of jobs potentially someday. Maybe it's a tech company or whatever, maybe it's a professional service company. We're going to put $5,000 in to help them get started down the road. Then with that money, they can hire a consultant to help them write their business plan. They can use the money to get a patent.
Okay.
On a product. They can, those kinds of things. Or if they need to take a trip to California to try to land their first customer, they can do that, right? And so this is a new tool that we've got in our toolbox that we're offering up to some of the companies that are in the Incubator.
Very positive.
Yep, absolutely.
Should create a lot of great things. You also had some news, a press release just the other day on PJ Walbank Springs Company, honored as the Michigan 50 Companies to Watch. Talk to me about them and about what that was all about.
Well, PJ Walbank Springs is a great company, family owned. It's been in the county and in the Port Huron area for a number of years, many years.
Yep.
And they're just a great company to work for. Recently, they announced an expansion where they're adding on to some of their R&D capability in their building. They're adding more office space, planning to bring on more engineers, more technical people, more professional service kind of people like accountants and quality control. And their business continues to grow. And surprisingly, it's growing overseas.
Oh, really?
That's where their new customers are coming from. They're exporting, product and services overseas. So, we were really excited to partner with them on that project, and they get all the credit. They're doing great things there.
Talking about overseas and shipping and things, anything coming along with the Marysville Project, where Detroit Edison is gone? It's amazing how that piece of property looks. And is there anything in the offing on that, or still looking in the development stages?
Yeah, so we've met with a couple of potential investors who are looking at the property. They're interested in doing something there. I think where we're at right now, though, is that the city really has this vision of developing a mixed-use project there. And it would involve hotels, restaurants, some mixed use, and some commercial being a component of the mixed use. And so they've heard a lot of people say that doesn't make sense, it's not going to work. And some people think it will work, and so they've decided that they're going to do a feasibility study.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's the next step, is we're going to do a feasibility study to decide, is this a good location for a hotel? Is it a good location for mixed use? It'll take several months for that study to be undertaken and to get the results back. And after that, I'm sure the City Council will make some decisions on what they want to do going forward. But the good news is that there are a couple of investment groups that are looking at the property right now that do have an interest in doing a mixed-use project.
Coming down the river a little further, and you mentioned hotels. Have you heard anything new about St. Clair Inn?
Well, it's good news with the St. Clair Inn. It looks like the project is going to start this year. Okay. So everybody's excited about that. There's a lot of things in the works right now. We just had an event we call a bankers forum for the investors of the inn, and so basically they're looking for a local bank that they can work from, and they will have to help to do their construction loan. So we made those connections just this week, and we're expecting them to begin the rehabilitation project on the inn this summer.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
The City Council of St. Clair, just at their last meeting, the beginning of April, first week in April, voted to change historic district rules or regulations. It seems to be, now it's going back to the historic district and coming back to the council before April 17th, and they're going to vote, which will be, I understand, very helpful to the whole project.
Yeah, so this is a great project for the region. I mean, I think everybody here in the area knows how important the St. Clair Inn is to businesses and the residents of the community. But the investor Jeff Katofsky, he was telling a couple of funny stories.
He's a very entertaining guy.
Yeah, a couple of funny stories and about people that he ran into that have connections to the inn, and they're somewhere else in the country. So one of the stories that he was telling me just recently was last year he broke his hip. He fell in ironically a hotel. And and so he hurt himself, his hip and his knee, and he was going in for physical therapy, and the guy said, well, I hope you're not planning to travel anytime soon. And Jeff said, well, I'm actually getting on an airplane tomorrow to go back to Michigan. He said, oh, where are you going to? And he said, I'm going to St. Clair County. And the therapist said, oh, the St. Clair Inn. He said, the St. Clair, you know what the St. Clair Inn is. So here's someone in California who has a connection to the St. Clair Inn into Michigan.
Wonderful story.
Yeah, so there's a lot of those type of stories out there. So what's really, I think, exciting for people is that Jeff and his team really have a passion for the inn and for bringing it back to its former glory.
I had the opportunity to take my wife. We were talking about my wife before we started the show. Is in California, seeing our daughter and grandson. And when I left her at the airport, I drove across the street to the Radisson to see how the facility was coming along that he owns there. And the lobby is beautiful. I didn't get any rooms or anything, but the whole building and everything is very well done, very well done. And so that was a positive feel for me, at least.
Okay.
As you always hear, oh, it's never going to happen, but that facility of his, which was bought at the same time, got at the same time, certainly is up, it's running, and a good-looking facility.
Yeah, so you're talking about the facility in Romulus?
Right, the Radisson Hotel in Romulus.
Yeah, so that was a $10 million investment in that facility, and they've done such a good job with that facility that some of the other hotels around it are now saying that they need to up their game, because the competition just down the street, put in all new beds and furniture and updated the kitchen and dining room and on and on. So they're all worried about losing their business.
Right.
And so that's an example of what Jeff tries to do when he goes into a market to do a project. He tries to change the market, to affect the market so that other people around it will want to up their game. They'll want to do some investments, and all of it is great. It's all great for the community because it'll bring more people in to shop, to use those facilities for tourism and so forth. And so that is what we expect will happen with the St. Clair Inn.
Well, I saw a couple trucks there just the other day working, so that's a very good sign. It's a good sign of spring to see some workers at the St. Clair Inn. Did we miss anything?
Well, we just had an announcement last week about H.P. Pelzer's expansion.
Okay.
They're in the Port Huron Industrial Park, and another one of the companies, the automotive suppliers in the county, that has received new contracts, and so they're going to be adding about 120 people.
Wonderful.
Primarily production workers, but there'll be some professional services mixed in there. And they're going to be taking another building in the park. And frankly, I think the challenge that we have in St. Clair County right now is just a lack of buildings.
That's a fun problem. Not a fun problem, but a unique problem. We didn't have that problem before.
Yeah, exactly. So we're probably down to 4 or 5 buildings that are available in the entire county for industrial. Now, on the commercial side, we still have building space, and certainly we have the Sears building in Birchwood Mall that's available, so there's some commercial spaces that are out there. But in terms of industrial, which is where we get a lot of our jobs from, there's very little left. And consequently, we're spending a lot of our time trying to attract investors here who'd be willing to build buildings. So if there's anybody in your audience that's interested in building, spending some of their money in building a building and becoming a landlord, I pretty much can guarantee you that we've got some companies that would be interested.
Oh, good. Let's put the two of them together, right?
Absolutely.
Well, you've been doing a good job. You've been with us about 5 years now, 6 years?
6 years, and let me tell you, it's flown by. But I'm happy to be here. I was happy last year when I renewed my contract because I felt like there was still a lot of work to do in the county. I still feel that way. We have a great team at the EDA. Everybody there is really, really committed to what they're doing. All of us sit on different committees in different communities. We try to do more and more. This Incubator is a good example. We didn't add any staff. We're going to be opening that up with no more staff than we've had before. And we're just going to make it work. And we've already got a lot of companies that are going to be going in there. And so we're very excited. We're going to have a grand opening for it, you know, so people have a chance to see it. But we just, you know, as a staff, we just took that on and we said, we're going to make this happen. And we put in the time and did what we had to do. And we think at the end of the day, it's something that's desperately needed in the county. So we're really excited to have that as an option for companies.
While we're on the Sperry's building, the theaters are open. That owner is certainly like a Jeff Katofsky. He follows through and he does things to great quality. And where is he at on City Flats, the new hotel?
Yeah, so Chuck Reed is who you're talking about. He's the developer from Holland and the Grand Rapids area. And so he purchased both of those buildings, the Michigan National Bank building and also the Sperry's building. Now the theater is up and running.
Yep.
And
Great reviews.
Yeah, and as soon as they're done with the incubator in just a couple of days, really, as soon as they're done with that, they're going to shift their entire focus over to City Flats.
Good.
And so that is going under construction. They've been doing demo, and one of the things, you know, for the incubator is we said, you've got a lot of stuff in there in the City Flats building or the Michigan National Bank building that we could use. So all of the doors that were in the all the doors in the Bank of America space, some of the windows in their offices we've taken, the kitchen cabinets and sink that they had, we've taken that. So a lot of that stuff is being repurposed in the incubator, so why throw it out?
Yeah.
You know, the doors are all oak. So that's the kind of thing that's underway right now, but they will really hit the ground running hard in the spring on City Flats. And it's going to take them probably close to a year to do all of the work.
I can imagine.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you stopped by to bring us up to date on many, many projects.
Sure.
You're always welcome, and please come back when you got more news, more good news. And we've been waiting for a number of years for that, and it's finally starting. The worm is starting to turn. Isn't it?
Thanks for having me, Paul.
Okay, that's about it for this edition of the Roundtable. Until next time, I'm Paul Dingeman. See you soon.